Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the final edition of college football picks and predictions. I should say the final regular season edition. It is week number 14. Guys, make sure you like the video down below. Let's get into this. We've got a number of Black Friday games, beginning with a noon game. It is the Egg Bowl. Ole Miss versus Mississippi State. You've got Ole Miss sitting minus 7.5 in this one. Some pretty big storylines regarding Lane Kiffin. There's going to be an announcement after the game. Obviously, his agent is leveraging the other potential job openings with Ole Miss, and we'll see what they end up doing there. But it is a very, very strange situation for this to be happening with Ole Miss right now, the number 6 team in college football, very likely to make the playoff. Mississippi State, they've had, not a great year at 5-6, but they can make a bowl game. And just in terms of this game, you get the rivalry week. Mississippi State has shown this season the ability to hang with better teams. We saw they almost upset Texas. I think Mississippi State surprises people, wins this game outright. I just think the coaching situation, it's too much of a distraction. The idea that they would make some type of announcement after the game when this is the number 6 team in college football, they're guaranteed basically to make the college football playoff. It's a rivalry game. It's only a 7.5 point spread. Mississippi State is not a complete walkover, and it's on the road. There's a number of things, the distractions, everything at play. Friday day game. I will take Mississippi State, believe it or not, to win this game outright. I've got them winning 31-24. People say maybe it's a shocker. It's only a 7.5 point spread. It'd be an upset, but it's not the craziest thing to predict something like that. Moving on to another 12 o'clock game. It is Utah traveling to Kansas. So Utah sitting 13.5 point favorites. Once again, this is a Friday game. Utah coming off a very strange performance against Kansas State where they gave up about 400 rushing yards and they somehow won. They've been a team that's been very dominant analytically. Giving up 400 yards rushing is certainly not going to help your analytical numbers. But alas, they sit minus 13.5 against the Kansas team that really has been irrelevant throughout much of the year. I will take Utah to win this game and kind of get back on track. I think they cover the 13.5. They win this game. They've got a very solid, at least in the second half of the year, very solid offense, decent amount of explosive plays. The defense should be better, should be at least good enough to where they win this game relatively easily. Even though it is on the road and Kansas is a program that certainly has improved relative to what they were 5 or 6 years ago. They've got a nice stadium that's in the middle of a renovation, but I will take Utah to win that game there. Next, we've got a 3:30 Friday game. Georgia taking on Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech coming off the brutal loss to Pittsburgh. Oh, this is so unfortunate. This game should be at Georgia Tech. I don't know why they would. I think they sold the rights for this to be a home game to have it be neutral site. So this is at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It is neutral site game. It's not at Georgia Tech's home campus. And I would imagine the crowd is going to be heavily leaning towards Georgia. And so Georgia in this game is sitting minus 12.5. They've had a really nice second half of the season. They're possibly trying to inch their way. Maybe they make the SEC championship, but they need Bama to lose. I think they need a few other things, but they are sitting minus 12.5 in this one. I think they win this game very easily, 34-13. I don't love what I see from Georgia Tech, especially recently. So give me Georgia. I think they do cover that 12.5. And remember, this is not a Georgia Tech home game. This is considered neutral site with a crowd probably heavily leaning in the Dogs' direction. So I will take Georgia to cover in that one. We've got a 7:30 Friday night game. It is Indiana taking on Purdue. So this rivalry, you've got Indiana sitting minus 28.5, heavy favorites against the undermanned Purdue. Or I guess not even undermanned. They're just a bad team. It's not like they're dealing with, well, maybe they are dealing with injuries, but this late in the year, I think everyone is dealing with injuries. But either way, I will take Indiana to win this game very easily. I do think they cover the 28.5. They're coming off a bye week. Mendoza, definitely right now the leader for the Heisman. Will he win it? It'll probably come down to his Big Ten championship performance against Ohio State. But I think Indiana wins this game very easily. Hold serve. They win the game by 35 points. That's a cover of 28.5. And I like that there. Another 7:30 game. This is the big one. The big Friday night, Black Friday game. Number 3 undefeated Texas A&M. They're 11-0. They're already clinched to make the playoff. But will they make the SEC championship? And will they get that guaranteed first round bye if they win this game? They're going to very likely have that first round bye because they're going to be 12-0. even if they lose in the SEC championship. You do have Texas. Remember, last year they faced Texas A&M at College Station. They lost. Now they're at home. Texas offense looks a lot better with Arch Manning. They played very well last week. Arch Manning in the second half of the year has been much improved. A&M is sitting 2.5-point favorites. Believe it or not, analytically, Texas is a slight favorite with a 52% chance to win. Because of what we've seen, and I think people have to understand when you look at A&M, they've dodged pretty much everyone in the SEC. Now, sure, they've beaten Auburn and they've beaten Arkansas and they've beaten these other, mid-tier SEC teams. They've dodged all the top SEC teams. I think they get bit in a game like this, a rivalry game on the road, a Friday night game with Texas playing as well as they have offensively. It's been really uneasy with me in Texas to where I'll pick them and then they'll struggle and then I'll go against them and then they'll play well. I'm back in on Texas. I think Texas wins this game outright. It's not a crazy upset. Analytically, Texas is a slight favorite, and people have to understand, when you look at Texas A&M, just look at their schedule, and this is not a knock against A&M. This is just how it is. Everyone says, oh, you have bias or whatever. That when you badmouth the team, it's not even that I'm badmouthing them. They've had an extremely easy schedule by SEC standards. Now, you want to say, well, overall, it's been a hard schedule or whatever. By SEC standards, they have not faced any of the top teams. They just haven't. So that's a big reason as to why they are undefeated. You could say, well, they also beat Notre Dame. Well, that was a game that obviously Notre Dame made some mistakes towards the end. Let's be honest, with the extra point. So I think Texas wins this game. Now listen, if Texas wins this, I still don't think they make the playoff because they're a 3-loss team and there's so many 2-loss teams conjumbled together in front of them. They would have an argument as a 3-loss team, yes, but because of the loss to Florida, I think that probably keeps them out. But I do like Texas to win this game outright. A&M falls to 11-1. Moving on to the Saturday games, here it is. Big game. The big one, the game. Ohio State taking on Michigan. Michigan probably going to be ranked maybe 15th or so. Ohio State, obviously the number one team in college football. They will stay that with the release of the upcoming rankings. Ohio State right now is sitting -9.5. This line opened in some books at 12.5, other books 11.5. It's been bet down. Ohio State given a 78% chance to win. The biggest storyline in this one is Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. From what I am hearing and what I see, I think Jeremiah Smith will be playing. He should be good to go. I know there's some concern that, well, maybe this is a situation where he's going to be used as a decoy. I don't think that's the case. I think Jeremiah Smith will play. Carnell Tate is very iffy. It's a strange situation with him. He suffered an injury during warm-ups like a month ago against Purdue. He hasn't been seen since on the field. I think Carnell Tate probably tries to give it a go. That could be a challenge, though, if he's got some type of hamstring injury. It is expected to be around 30 degrees in Ann Arbor. Hopefully no snow, although it's iffy. It's about a 20% chance it could go either way. Hopefully there's no precipitation. You look at this game and, if you're Ohio State, this is the weird thing. Ohio State throughout the entire season, they've played to limit possessions. Michigan wants to limit possessions. That's the thing. See, you go back to Ohio State's last win against Michigan in 2019. It's an exaggerated long game. There's many possessions for each team. It turns into this shootout. Ohio State's throwing the ball down the field with Justin Fields. That's how you beat a team like Michigan. Michigan's weakness is their secondary. We saw what happened last year. You run it up the middle. You play kind of a shell. If you're Julian saying, if he has Jeremiah Smith, you have got to throw the ball down the field. Another thing I'll say, if you look at Ohio State's game last week against Rutgers, they barely involved any of the backup receivers. If you're Ryan Day and you think that Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate are going to miss this game, there's no way you're not going to throw to your backup receivers against Rutgers to try and get them some intermediate routes, get them some reps. There was very little effort in terms of doing that. So that also makes me think Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate are going to play, or at least Smith. If they both miss the game, you've got some big issues. I mean, there's no other way around it, because Julian Sayin already is heavily prone to check the ball down, and Michigan has a very active, aggressive defense. Michigan tends to jump off sides like 2 or 3 times a game. I'm guessing Ohio State's going to have a number of hard counts against Michigan. They constantly try and jump the snap. You look at Michigan. Listen, they've gotten a lot better in the second half of the year. Michigan's had a few fluky games. The game against Purdue, their whole defense was injured. The game against Northwestern, they probably should have won by 30 points. They had 5 turnovers and still won. And then the game against Maryland, I mean, Marsh, the receiver, Underwood, you look at Bryce Underwood, he can run, and that could be a big issue for Ohio State. And you wonder if Arvell Reese will spy Underwood. He probably will, but then, that takes away him from being a pass rusher. So, I mean, Michigan has gotten better in the second half of the year. I think the best chance Ohio State has is to throw the ball downfield. You don't want to run into Michigan's defense. Ohio State's offensive line is very average. The pass blocking, I think, is a bit better than the run blocking, kind of like last year. But the run blocking got better in the playoffs, interestingly. I don't know. To me, this is going to be a challenge for Ohio State. It'll be dependent on if their receivers are healthy. I think Ohio State's defense is really good. Bryce Underwood can be erratic. He is still a young quarterback. He'll miss some throws, but I do think he's running more and more. And on a lot of third downs, he's going to try and run. I also wonder if Ohio State will utilize Lincoln Kienholz in the red zone, the dual threat quarterback. I guess it'll be a lot of dependent on if they have the receivers or not. But there's just no way I see Ohio State. I just can't see Ohio State losing again. I mean, what would this be, 1-5 against Michigan for Ryan Day? I know they say, well, the cheating and stuff like that, but it's still, I mean, it's not like Michigan had any of those wins vacated. It still counts. So you got to somehow win this game if you're Ohio State. Hopefully they have their receivers. But Ohio State, 9.5 to me. I understand why the number got bet down immediately. This is based on just previous history of Ryan Day choking against Michigan and the fact that Ohio State might not have their 2 best receivers. So I understand the line being bet down. I think it'll probably stay at 9.5. Really, if you look at the rate stats, it should probably be right around 9.5. So that's probably right. There are some other analytics that would say Ohio State should be about 12 to 13 point favorites. But again, those aren't factoring in potential injuries. Now, for Michigan, it looks like Jordan Marshall, the running back, is going to be back. And he's a good player. He is. He's a hell of a player. And Michigan's been running the ball really well in the second half of the year. And they're going to need a lot of that, against Ohio State. And that's the concern if you're Ohio State. If Ohio State's entire game plan all year has been to limit possessions, that's exactly what Michigan wants to do in a game like this. So you wonder, is Ohio State really going to come out with an entirely different game plan and play more up-tempo? I find that hard to believe. But if you do play that slow, methodical game, you really, really cannot afford a crippling turnover, or you just have a very low margin of error. So they're going to have to be very careful in this game. I think Ohio State gets it done just because I can't see them losing to Michigan again. We've got another noon game. It is Texas Tech taking on West Virginia. Texas Tech sitting minus 20.5. The number 5 team in college football. Texas Tech has an insane defense, especially against these subpar Big 12 offenses. And yeah, so minus 20.5. Texas Tech's been a cover machine. I've got them winning this game. I think they cover the 20.5 even on the road, because the defense probably won't allow double-digit points. So I think Texas Tech wins this game 34-7. Jacob Rodriguez trying to be in the running for the Heisman. Obviously, I don't think he's going to win it, but still kind of a fun story there. Another noon game. This is a relatively big one. It is Miami taking on Pittsburgh. So I'm guessing Pittsburgh will be ranked, so this should be a ranked v. ranked matchup because Pittsburgh just beat Georgia Tech. Miami is sitting minus 6.5 in this game. I remember when Miami, in basically the exact same spot, I think it was a Black Friday game back in 2017, 2018, was ranked number 2, went to Pittsburgh. It was 20 degrees. They lost. That was a much worse Pittsburgh team too. And it's hard to get that out of your head. Miami going to this extremely cold environment. It's going to be 25, 30 degrees when they go this time. And it's just a tough scheduling situation for them. They are 6.5 point favorites. And I will be honest, you look at Carson Beck, he was very efficient and very impressive against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's not that great, but still, that's a road game. And it was an impressive, it was over 300 passing yards. I think 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, an 80% completion percentage. Maybe even better than that. But I am going to go with Pittsburgh to win this game outright. I think it's an upset. So I'll take Pitt plus the 6.5, Pitt outright to win this game. It's just a tough situation for Miami traveling to cold weather. Maybe they win it. I do think you could argue they've got an outside shot at making the college football playoff. A lot would probably have to happen. Their entire argument is going to be based off the fact that they beat Notre Dame head-to-head, and so why is Notre Dame ahead of them? But the problem for them is that game happened in week 1, and they've lost to 2 subpar ACC teams since. That's the issue. But I do like Pittsburgh to win this game outright. This would make Miami way out of the playoffs at 9-3. We've got a 1 o'clock game. I think this is 11 o'clock, not Central Time, Mountain Time. 11 o'clock Mountain Time start. BYU sitting minus 18.5, taking on UCF. UCF's offense this year has just been atrocious. I think BYU wins this game very easily. BYU is still hunting for a potential playoff spot. And, a lot of Big 12 people are going to be salty. They're going to be angry. If BYU finishes 11-1, then they lose to Texas Tech, so they're 11-2. The issue is, you guys can kind of see where I'm going. They're not going to make the playoff. And a lot of Big 12 people are going to be mad about that. But that's just what's going to happen. But, yeah, they're going to beat UCF, I think, very easily. It's hard to really, in the last game of the season, you've got a team like UCF traveling this far in cold weather. The offense has been horrible this year. They're not really playing for a ton. Maybe they're playing for a bowl game. I don't know if they're 5-6, but it's just really hard to have much confidence in them. Maybe they end up getting a touchdown late and a 2-point conversion. That's why I've got it at 38-8. But BYU, very impressive performance at Cincinnati. Handled their business, won that game by about 12 points. They were only 2.5-point favorites. I was impressed. Moving on to the 3:30 games, it is Oregon taking on Washington. It wouldn't surprise me if Washington was ranked this week. They had a very nice win against UCLA where they easily covered. Oregon is sitting minus 6.5. Oregon is coming off a win over USC. I think Oregon is finding their stride. And I think the Ducks, maybe a little bit of an underrated defense, also just an underrated team in general. I think they win this game. They cover 6.5 very easily. This line has been bet down. It was 7.5. I checked recently. It was 6.5. So I'll take Oregon to win this game very easily, 38-21. I'm not a big believer in Washington. I think Washington's defense is very weak, and I think Oregon is underrated. So I'll take Oregon in that one. Another 3:30 game. It is Oklahoma taking on LSU. Oklahoma at number 8. So how about this for Oklahoma? Are they playing this game for a playoff spot? I mean, there's no way they're going to be behind Bama. There's no way they're going to be behind Michigan, even if Michigan beats Ohio State, because they have the head-to-head over Michigan, and they've got a very good resume. So you're facing an LSU team who, LSU has talent, they do, but the quarterback situation, they've been playing their backup. They played very porous against Western Kentucky. Oh, the over-under in this game is like 38. It's very low because Oklahoma, just the way they play, they have such a lack of explosiveness on offense. And if Oklahoma ends up facing Notre Dame in round 1, I think that's going to get ugly. I think Notre Dame's going to kill Oklahoma. But I do think in this game, Oklahoma's going to win, and I like them minus the 10.5 because I just don't see the offense from LSU on the road against a very good defense in Oklahoma. And it's just the way Oklahoma plays. They're a slow team. They don't really generate many explosive offensive plays. It's just, this is kind of what it is. Now, maybe this game ends up being close just because they play like that. But I'm kind of banking on maybe a defensive score for Oklahoma against an inexperienced LSU offense, so maybe that happens. But I'll take Oklahoma to win this game 24-7. Another 3:30 game. This is a good game. It is Tennessee taking on Vanderbilt. So Tennessee is sitting minus 2.5. Tennessee has 3 losses. Vanderbilt has 2 losses. Vanderbilt is looking at going 10-2 and possibly missing the playoff just because of the schedule and the way it's aligned. They really don't have a big win on the year. So even 10-2 in the SEC and not making the playoff, that's tough. But if they win this game, you're talking about Diego Pavia, people talking about him maybe winning the Heisman. I don't see it. But if you win this game, that's going to be a signature win. I do like, based off of what I saw last week, I like Tennessee to win this game. I think it should be a very good, higher scoring game, though. I'll take Tennessee. If I can get minus 2.5, I'd be on Tennessee. But I have them winning by 3, so very, very close. Over Vanderbilt, should be a good game there. Moving on to a 4:30 game, it is USC taking on UCLA. So the Pac-12 is back here. Number 15 team, UCLA, seemingly kind of giving up on the season here at the end of it. I think USC wins this game very easily off of their loss on the road at Oregon. USC finishes, what would this be, 9-3 for them? So Lincoln Riley finishes 9-3 with a nice win and a cover of a 20.5-point spread there. Moving on to a 7 o'clock game, it is Virginia Tech versus Virginia. Virginia, the number 19 team in the country, sitting minus 11.5 in this one. What is Virginia looking at? Win and in scenario, possibly? Like, if they win this game, because they only have 1 loss in conference, they're going to make the, well, you also have SMU there. I don't know. The ACC is kind of conjumbled, but I think this is going to be a very close game. It seems like Virginia Tech's a little bit like reinvigorated. It seems like Virginia Tech is a little bit energized after the James Franklin hiring, and I think I'm also not a big believer in Virginia. I think it'll be a close game. I'll give Virginia the victory, 26-23, but I think that 11.5 is not going to be a cover for UVA there. Moving on to this is the primetime games. Alabama taking on Auburn. This game normally is played at 3:30. They've pushed it back to 7:30. Oh, this is an interesting one. So Bama is sitting -5.5. Auburn is in a spot to where they can knock Alabama out of the playoff. Bama, if they win this game, I believe they make the SEC championship. If they lose, they're 9-3. They're probably screwed. Bama, you can understand why people would be picking an upset. They can't run the ball. They're going on the road against a rival. And Auburn, by the way, you can say what you want about them. They are a talented team. They are a top 25 team according to analytics. Yes, it's more of a fringe top 25 team, but still, there's a reason Alabama's only -5.5 in this game. Should be a very close game. I think Alabama squeaks this one out. 27-24, just barely. I guess I'll take Auburn plus the 5.5. I just can't see Bama blowing this and missing the 12-team playoff again for a second straight year. I can't see it, not with the talent that they have. It's going to be a big challenge for them, though. I mean, Ty Simpson has not looked great the past few weeks. Maybe you could argue Bama's running game is getting better. This is, to me, it's going to be a close game either way against Auburn. Just kind of with how the rivalry goes, and also the fact that Bama's going on the road in this one. It's prime time, 7:30. This will probably be a very close game. And then the final game, it is Notre Dame taking on Stanford. Notre Dame sitting -32.5. Brutal time slot for Notre Dame fans. 10:30 Eastern. That's ESPN trying to get an extended extra window. Forcing Notre Dame fans to stay up at 10:30 is tough. But Notre Dame, massive favorites. Stanford got a very nice win last week against Cal. It seems like they've got some energy in that program with Andrew Luck. I'm going to be taking Notre Dame to win this game. I don't know about the 32.5. It's tough. I mean, they're going to try and get Jeremiah Love the Heisman, so they maybe 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns for him. Maybe they end up winning 45-10 and covering the 32.5. Either way, I think it's a coin flip, but that is going to do it for my week number 14 college football predictions. Guys, make sure you like the video down below. Also follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.